This is going to be an intermediate addendum, or an addendum targeted at intermediate to advanced Guilty Gear Strive players on not letting Nagoriyuki do Fukyo. And for the backdrop, we're going to have Marvello, the chip player, versus me in Tampa Never Sleeps, which happened today. Recently, I published a video, as some of you know, thank you people who subscribe to my YouTube, that is called Don't Let Nagoriyuki Do Fukyo. Don't let him do it. It's simple, basically explanation of Fukyo forward, which is inputted as 236K, and how long it takes to become effective for Nago, and what ranges, and what are the first steps that you can take to counteract it. I didn't want to overload the last video, but the thing about Nago is that he has counterplay to all of the possible answers I introduced in that video. So we're going to talk some more about that here. The three answers that we're going to discuss primarily are: number one, hitting a button in response to Nago doing Fukyo forward. Number two, jumping. Number three, backdashing. Okay? Remember those three. And now we're going to make an example situation. Let's say you want to press a button in response to Nago doing a Fukyo forward on you. Like, if you're Chip, it's going to be either 5K, 2K, 2D, or 5P, 6P into Rekka's RC for a combo, blah, blah, blah. These are great answers, and usually the best against a very obvious Nago player, but it's not necessarily always going to work whether the Nagoriyuki player wills it or not. Things can always happen differently based on context, namely spacing and how quick your response time is. We're gonna make some examples here, right? This is a set where Marvello beats me 3-0 as I try to show him the layer 1. Say that you and Nagoriyuki are both close to the corner, and Nagoriyuki does Fukyo forward. Your 2K, 2D, or your 5P, 6P is guaranteed to connect, and the momentum of the match will swing in your favor from that for the most part, right? Now, if you're in the corner and Nagoriyuki does Fukyo forward, knowing that you want to do 2K, 2D, he can stop the Fukyo short to make the 5K whiff and continue pressure. This is something that's usually done during Fukyo backwards pressure, but if you're sharp as Nago, then you can really set this up and outplay the opponent on defense, right? If you're both mid-screen and you do 5K, depending on the distance Nagoriyuki has to travel, you could whiff entirely, leaving you completely open to a punish. And of course, in any of these situations, it's completely possible that you react very late, for example right here, and Nagoriyuki does a very committal clone forward into Fukyo forward to try and test you, which usually means that a repressure of some sort is coming, which is beat by a normal grab, and then he could bait you, right? There's layers to everything. So I want to bring it back to the key word that I brought up earlier: context. Nagoriyuki players are going to choose different options based on spacing and the blood meter particularly, and you should be aware of these potential options as well if you want to increase your defensive capabilities in whatever matchup it is. These are values that are shared in every matchup. So I want to add another keyword onto the plate here. First, we have context, right? Context, context, context. If you hear Fukyo, you can always press the button. You're not necessarily going to be right. He might do Fukyo back in 5SSS. There's going to be reasons why he chooses to do certain things versus other things. The next word is going to be vary. And by that I mean vary your options. Again, in the last video, I said stuff about how the strongest option is to simply hit Nago doing Fukyo forward, and how options like jumping or backdashing all have other counterplay and natural vulnerabilities. But there's actually still a ton of value to doing these that can't necessarily be seen within the game. Do you know about the mental stack? If you don't, then Core A has an excellent video on it, and I think it's basically left brain, right brain, or stage 1, stage 2 brain. If you've never seen it, I'm gonna link it in the description. And how that concept is relevant here is that it takes low mental resources to simply jump or backdash when Nagoriyuki jumps up or dashes up to you, and high mental resources to press a button in reaction. Sometimes based on, what has happened in the last few seconds, like crazy scramble, or you got bursted into the corner, you might not be in that headspace to react in like the most optimal way, right? So you'll just backdash instead, since you're probably already holding back to block to prepare yourself for whatever was coming next. Even besides that, options like a defensive backdash or jump had merit in the game based on the keyword of the first half of the video, remember? Context. If you see that a Nagoriyuki has no blood to spend, you should, pick up really quickly that look out for the forward dash into the command grab, right? It's a classic. Nagoriyukis love to do this because it basically brings them right back into the round, regardless of what has happened when it comes to the resource. See right there? I tried to do the dash up command grab to establish huge pressure afterwards. Marvella wasn't having any of it. That's the variance, right? He could have pressed a button, he could have grabbed, but there was a jump backwards. It was still good enough, even though it didn't use the most mental stack, and then he switched it up. There, he went back to responding to the Fukio by pressing a button. So how this all comes together is that if you've answered a Nagoriyuki player's dash up in a bunch of different ways, you may delay his option, as he attempts to adapt to how you defended. An example, say you've been backdashing in response to the Fukio forward for the whole round, right? Or the whole set. He may begin to Fukio forward, continue to walk up, and then do close slash, or delay command grab, or BRC forward. This leaves him even more open to a grab or big mash in response, like a close slash or a heavy button. Another example, say you've been jumping repeatedly, right? He may do the same thing, like delay close slash to try and jail you down, or he may Fukio forward and wait to see the jump and then air grab you. If you've been mashing in response to Fukio, it's likely that you're gonna see him try and catch you big time with a Fukio back close slash. So these are the three options we talked about, right? Mash, backdash, jump. And all three of these get beat out by two potential options that Nago has. So varying these answers is the key to beating the Fukio forward, okay? If you only pick one or two, you're going to get adapted on because there's crossover. If you always press the button when Nago dashes up, there's always an opportunity for him to do Fukio back and press a button. And if you always jump as well, that's also covered by Fukio back and pressing a button. He could just Fukio back 2H and then you're gonna, eat pavement, right? So if you don't vary your options in a powerful manner, then you've seen, people complain about how Nago is so overpowered. When people are getting one-shot, that's how it happens. If you vary your options, it's going to be way harder for Nagoriyuki to set up the perfect situation to frag you and, put you on high fights, right? Even then, the nature of fighting games is, even if you choose powerful options, sometimes you're just going to be wrong, even if you choose a strong option defensively. And it's just the way it goes, but it's fine. It doesn't make your strong defense it's not, you didn't do anything wrong. You simply got outguessed. It's literally the nature of fighting games, right? So
the fuck is wrong with you, Hotashi?
Thanks, Hikari. So there's gonna be another follow-up to this. There's gonna be much more to think about when it comes to context. And the key part of that is gonna be Nagoriyuki's blood bar. Certain things are going to happen much more often based on the blood bar when Nagoriyuki is doing offense or playing neutral. But, think about what I've talked about in this video just to start with, and then ask questions. Ask yourself, what if this, what if that? But to that I say, again, there's not necessarily always going to be a correct answer. That's why you have to vary strong answers so Nago can't craft a perfect response to how you've been playing. Look into it a little bit more with, your characters and know your options, since it'll help you a lot on defense. Alright, that's it. Take care.